Alrighty, hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cryptic Coil, and in today's video I have another book haul and a couple of DVDs that I've picked up from thrift stores. I also purchased a bunch of Bentley little hardback books online, and so I just want to show that off, okay? So I only have two like vintage middle grade books, so I'll go ahead and show those off first. The first one I have is called A Ghost Around the House by William McKellar. And this is what the cover looks like. It's not very clear. It's kind of got a pencil art-ish kind of cover. Let's go ahead and read the summary on back. It all happened because it was nearly Halloween, and I got this crazy notion to go home by way of Dead Man's Swamp, past the ruins of Strowen Castle. And that's it. That's the entire summary on back. Now, this is a Scholastic printing, and the author, like I said, his name is William McKellar, and the book was published and copyrighted in this is a first printing, and it was printed in 1972. So this book is significantly older than me. This book is 14 years older than me, or the printing is. And it is in excellent condition. The pages have yellowed, that's about it. Great healthy spine. It's not beat up. Excellent condition. Okay, then I picked up another vintage Apple paperback, and I just really enjoy picking these up. They're just so nostalgic from my childhood. This is one that I didn't have when I was a kid, but nevertheless, it's called Angela, Private Citizen. And just because of the cover, it kind of gives me some Harriet the Spy vibes. There's a little girl who's about to deposit a yellow envelope into a mailbox. The author's name is Nancy K. Robinson, and the tagline on the front reads, "It's hard to be the perfect citizen." Now let's go ahead and read the synopsis on back. Angela just wants to be a good citizen, but everything is going wrong. Angela tries her best. When she hears that the government is in debt, she decides to help by paying taxes. Her parents went wrong. Taxation is theft. Anyway, she proudly mails her life savings of $4.53 along with her sticker-decorated official tax form. How could she have known it was the only tax form in the house and her parents needed it? And what about Eddie Bishop, a poor kid in Angela's class? Angela worries when he can't keep up in the reading workbook. Why, he might even get left behind, and as his reading partner, it would be all her fault. Angela is doing her part to build a more perfect world, but nothing ever works out the way she expects. So, in a way, this is kind of a horror book for kids. Can't believe that a little kid would want to pay taxes. I'm a grown man and I don't want to pay taxes. This book was copyrighted and printed in 1989, so it's almost as old as me. And it's in excellent condition. I would call it mint, so this is in mint condition. So another excellent Scholastic vintage Apple paperback for me to throw on that shelf. And I'm the one shelf where I put these, this is the last book that I can squeeze in. I'm going to have to start stacking books on top. Well, I already have started stacking books on top. But yeah, I have quite a handful of these. All right, so now let's go ahead and get into my adult books. So this was an exciting find because in this community, especially the corner of the community, booktube, spooktube, whatever, where I hang out, okay, I mean, it's ruled by the likes of like Cameron Chaney and Slime and Slashers. Well, I know that Kelsey from Slime and Slashers is a huge fan of Robert McCammon. And ever since Hastings went away, I've never seen a Robert McCammon book out in the wild. And I finally found one at a thrift store. I found Robert McCammon's Boy's Life, okay? And this isn't a paperback. This is an ex-library copy, and it's got a hardcover on it. I've tried removing these. I had to really work to get rid of some of the adhesive on the back. This book was formerly belonged to a local middle school, which I find interesting. But it's in good condition. The spine is holding onto the pages just perfect. I would like to try to get this stuff off the spine again, but it's actually really cool that it's a little hardback and not a paperback. I've never read anything from Robert R. McCammon, but I'm interested in exploring this author because I know that Kelsey from Slime and Slashers is such a big fan of his, and I know that she's turned other booktubers onto his works. I think I heard somebody, and it might have been Kelsey or it might have been somebody else, but from what I hear, this author gets unfairly compared to Stephen King. I know that this book in particular gets compared to Stephen King's It. And the reason why it gets compared to It is because it takes place back in the day, like maybe the 80s or the 90s or something. And I know that it's a coming of age tale, and it does have some horror elements, so this one gets compared to It. This thing looks like a beast. Okay, I mean, this is a thick book. The font is, it's not that big. This is 580 pages. So this is a behemoth. I don't remember the last time I ever read a book this big. But anyway, it was a cool find. Then some odd months ago, I did a book haul and I showed this off. This is a Tor horror paperback. I'd found it out at a local thrift store, and the author, I don't know how to say her last name. Catherine, I want to say Taychek. I could be butchering that, and my apologies to the author if I did in fact butcher it. But this book was called Ghost Dance, and again, it's a Tor horror paperback. Just for fun, I'm not going to read the tagline or the synopsis, but I do want to see when it was printed. Okay, so this was printed in 1990, and I found it, and it was just cool to have another Tor horror paperback. Well, I found a couple more books from the same author at I want to say the same thrift store. So someone who lives in that area of town must have donated their collection little by little. Well, anyway, one that I found is called Blood Autumn. And look at that cover. I mean, that's a pretty fun cover. It's like a sun, and the sun has like vampire teeth all the way around the outer or all along the circumference, and there's these vampire lips with vampire teeth, and it's called Blood Autumn, so this must be a good time of year to read this. Just for fun, let's go ahead and see. So this is a first printing, and it came out in January of 1985, so it's a year older than me, which is interesting. Let's go ahead and read the summary on back. Blood Autumn. It begins in India in 1857 as children fall prey to a mysterious fever. Lieutenant Hamilton is spellbound by August Parrish. Pale, beautiful, and sensually magnetic, to meet August is to want her, and Thomas Hamilton cannot resist her, even as he learns her secret, even as he dies. It returns in Savannah. August Justinian has arrived. She is pale, beautiful, and sensually magnetic. And all over town, children are dying of a mysterious fever. Excuse me, sorry. I'm working on the smoking. I really am. Okay, that sounds like an interesting read. Okay, and then, Where is it? Where is it? I did find one more book from the same author, Catherine Taychek, and it's called In Silence Sealed. And the tagline on the front reads, "The horror waits." And that is a really cool looking cover, okay? I mean, it's like a, I don't know if that's dusk or dawn, but there's a tombstone and there's a gargoyle on the tombstone, and the flowers growing in front of the tombstone are dead. This is a really cool looking cover. And it looks like, and again, this is also a Tor horror paperback. And this is in pretty good condition. It's got a little bit of wear on the cover, but it's not beat up or anything. It's just a little worn, but a great healthy spine holding onto the pages. The cover's not really in any danger of falling off. That's really important to me. It does have an endorsement from Peter Straub on the cover. It reads, "Catherine Taychek is better than many famous horror writers I could name." Wow. So that's one heck of an endorsement. Let's go ahead and read or let's find out what year this was published. Okay, so this is a first printing and it came out in March of 1998. So that's awesome, or 1988. I'm sorry, 1988. So it's about as old as I am. You know, it's like 2 years younger than me, so that's cool. In Silence Sealed. So let's go ahead and read the summary on back. Two ravishing beauties, the Greek sisters Athena and August Christonosos, three giants of the Romantic movement, John Keats, Percy Bysshe, Shelley, and George Gordon, Lord Byron. These great poets, all of whom die young, all three know the Christonosos sisters, the morning and the evening stars, Percy Bysshe and Shelley calls them. They will live on. The great romantic poets will not. That sounds kind of bizarre, actually. Yeah, that sounds pretty bizarre. But whatever. This does seem like an interesting author, and I now have three of her books. I have Blood Autumn, In Silence Sealed, and Ghost Dance. So that's cool, and I get to put these on my Tor Horror shelf. Okay, so let's see, what else do I got for you. Okay, so that's almost it for books. I'm going to show you the Bentley little hardbacks that I picked up. Okay, so I already have the paperback copy of this one. This one is called The Burning. And I've read like four Bentley little books, one of which was called The Collection, which is a bunch of his short stories, and they were really good. I read two of his books that were almost exactly the same. One of his books the first book of his that I read, and it was a great first read to introduce myself to Bentley Little. It was called The Town, and The Town was just excellent. It was unlike anything I've ever read. And then the next book that I read from him was called The Association, and or no, I'm sorry. The first book I read from him was called The Store. Did I say The Town? I meant The Store. And that was the one that I credited as being a great first read for an introduction to that author. And then I read another book right after that called The Association. And The Association was basically the exact same book as The Store. But instead of the book being about an evil store, it was about an evil neighborhood homeowners association. Then I read one more novel from him, and it was called The Ignored. And I was very unsatisfied with the ending because the ending ended kind of inconclusively, and there were a whole bunch of unanswered questions, so there was a lot of abstraction that I don't really appreciate. And looking back, I can now realize and understand that The Ignored wasn't written for me. It compelled me with a very interesting concept, but that book wasn't written for me. But it was written for someone, and there are people out there who, as much as I disliked that book because of the way I felt disappointed by its ending. There are some people out there who loved it because they feel like they can relate to it. So I haven't read any Bentley Little in a while, but I'm itching to read some more. I've heard some great things about some of his other books. I loved The Store. I loved The Association, and I hear he does have some more bangers. I'm not sure about this one. This one is called The Burning, and it's got a train, like, a locomotive, and all this fire on the cover. And the tagline on the front reads, "Nothing this evil stays dead for long." Now, I'll go ahead and read the synopsis from the inner dust jacket. It reads, "A college freshman finds herself stranded in Arizona with no place to stay and nowhere to run. Cabin fever closes in on an isolated park ranger as two sinister beauties lurk in the desert outside his door. A California divorcee is starting a promising new life, but her young son knows better because he's seen what's creeping outside the window. A cross country traveler is on a journey of self discovery, but one tourist trap holds its own dreadful surprises. Four strangers with one thing in common: a mysterious train choking the sky with black smoke, charging trackless across the American night, and carrying an unstoppable evil raised from the bowels of history that will bring their worst fears to life." That sounds interesting. It does. So this is one that maybe I shouldn't discount. I should try to get to it soon. Okay, this one actually sounds very interesting to me, and I believe it's newer. Let's see. This is from 2021, so it's actually pretty new. I mean, it's 3 years old at this point. And it's called Gloria. And he typically gets an endorsement from Stephen King on the cover. In years past, there was an endorsement from Stephen King on the cover of all his books that read "A Master of the Macabre." But now it looks like Stephen King changed it up, and the endorsement from Stephen King on the cover of his books now reads "The Horror Poet Laureate." Okay, so the book is called Gloria, and there's this beautiful blonde young woman who does not look like she's from this time. That is like 70s or 80s hair to me, but she has the blackest eyes. Look at that. So that's a pretty compelling cover. I like it. And the cover looks like the cover was made to look aged and kind of beat up. So I think that's kind of a nice touch. I like it. So let's go ahead and read the synopsis on the inner dust jacket. And actually, if you'd be so kind and just show me a little bit of patience, let me crack this thing open and take a sip. Let me kind of moisten my mouth and my throat, please. Okay, so let's read that synopsis on the inner dust jacket. Considering she had just attended her mother's funeral, Gloria James never expected to see the woman again, but then her dead mom shows up at her house. Gloria's mom is different. She's younger than when she died, dressed in clothes from the 1980s. Nailed it. She's younger than when she died, dressed in clothes from the 1980s, and nobody else in Gloria's family seems to recognize her. As Gloria tries to figure out the reason for her mother's reappearance and the odd behaviors the woman begins to exhibit, other bizarre events occur. The changes to Gloria's world are small and subtle at first, then they become much more startling. The freaky situation might just be connected to a mysterious shed in a small California town. The strangers who gather around the shed seem to know Gloria's name, and maybe they aren't strangers after all. With Gloria, Bentley Little presents one of his most complex and compelling novels, one that is certain to surprise readers on every page. Okay, so that one sounds really good, and I don't. The only there's only a couple of people on YouTube who talk about Bentley Little, and one of them is an author who's also a booktuber. His name is Brian Lee Durfee. I enjoy his channel. Shout out to him. If you're not subscribed to him, I recommend you check him out. Him and the other, like the two, maybe three other YouTubers who talk about Bentley Little books, I don't think they've gotten to this one. So this might be the one I should prioritize. I can read it first, then I can review it, because that does sound super good. So let's see. I have a few more. Well, more than a few more actually. So I have The Town. Okay, and so Bentley Little's books, they're all named something. Well, most of them are named like The Store, The Association, The Ignored, The Town. Yeah, he has The Burning. Okay, and so that his books are, pretty formulaic. Most of the time. He does deviate once in a while, but whenever he follows his formula, because his formula has been tried, tested, and proven true, yeah, it might get a little bit repetitive, and yeah, there might be some people out there who want something different, but for me, it works because I know that he's gonna entertain me. He's gonna compel me with the concept. So for him to name a book like Dominion or name a book Gloria, it feels off. But this book right here sounds really good. But getting back to The Town, this is what the cover looks like. And so I live here in the southwest region of the United States. And so to me, this looks like a southwest scenery. In particular, it looks like Arizona. And I'm cheating by saying that because most of Bentley Little's books do take place in Arizona. For instance, The Store took place in Arizona. I think even The Association took place in Arizona. I remember that The Ignored had a lot of scenes in Arizona. And I think that's because Bentley Little is from there, so he's my next door neighbor. Anyway, the tagline on the front reads, "You'll never leave, never." And the synopsis on the inner dust jacket reads, "You'll never leave, never. Welcome to McGuane, Arizona. Population 200, 199, 198, 197. Gregory Tomasov has returned with his family to the quaint Arizona community of his youth. In McGuane, the air is clean, the land is unspoiled. Nothing much has changed, except now no one goes out after dark, and no one told Gregory that he shouldn't have moved into the old abandoned farm on the edge of town. Once upon a time, something bad happened there, something that's now buried in its walls, something now reborn in the nightmares of Gregory's young son, something about to be unleashed. What happened once is going to happen again in the town. You can't go home again." That sounds good. I mean, it does. Bentley Little can take a concept like The Store or The Association or The Town, and he can just make it really compelling, really sinister. The I was When these books came in, because I ordered them online, when they came in, I was so excited. I went to work and I was telling people about like The Store, and they were like glued to my every word, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds great. I got to read it now." Whether or not they will, I don't know. I mean, I spoiled it. I told them the whole story, but showed them the pics and showed them that I bought all these other books, and they dug it. So this one came out in the year 2000, and I actually do remember seeing this book in paperback on the shelves at Hastings, but I didn't ever buy any Bentley Little books from Hastings. I got into Bentley Little when this woman from work was done reading books, and she brought me a box, and there were a couple of Bentley Little books, including the store, the association, the collection, and the burning. So this one is called Bentley, or it's called The Influence. And this one must be newer too, because the endorsement from Stephen King reads The Horror Poet Laureate. Excuse me, sorry about that. And this one is from the year 2013, so it's just over a decade old. At this point, I'm sure it's a classic. Let's go ahead and read the synopsis on the inner dust jacket. The Influence. Everything is about to change when Ross Lowry moves into his cousin's guest house in the small community of Magdalena, Arizona. He expects nothing more than breathing room and a brief respite from his economic woes. But something is not right in the desert. After a raucous party on New Year's Eve, the luck of the attendees undergoes an immediate U-turn. The rich and successful suddenly find themselves facing catastrophic failure, while the less well-off are unexpectedly flush with good fortune. This is only the beginning. Soon the citizens of Magdalena are experiencing unnatural desires. Next, their children begin to disappear and freakish creatures emerge from the surrounding wilderness. The community is unraveling at a frightening pace. But these are merely the early warning signs of a shadow or of a showdown with a powerful force of darkness that could obliterate the world forever, and only Ross Lowry sees the danger that lurks ahead. So that sounds pretty good too. Let's see, what else do we got? I got more Bentley Little books. These aren't the only ones. Okay, this one is one that I want to read. I liked Brian Lee Durfee's review of it. He tries not to give any spoilers, but he went into so much detail that I I don't know if reading this one is going to be worth it for me because it sounds really good. I don't know how it ends, so I guess I could read it, but this one sounds really good, and it's called The Disappearance. And you just see a man walking through the southwest desert. And the tagline on the front reads, "Hours from civilization, in the middle of nowhere. What could possibly go wrong?" And the synopsis on the inner dust jacket reads, "The festival was intended as a getaway from UCLA for Gary, his girlfriend Joan, and their friends. But soon after they arrive, Joan vanishes. Calls to her parents' home yield only dead air. Her school records are gone, and there's no evidence that Joan or even her roommate ever existed. Most disturbing of all is what they do find. Among Joan's belongings is a prayer written on a small scroll. It's a safeguard and a warning from something called the Outsiders. For Gary and his friends, it's the only clue. Now, if they want to find out exactly what happened to Joan, they must follow it. But they may not like where it leads." That does sound really good. I was really intrigued by some of the detail that Brian Lee Durfee went into during his review, but I worry that he gave too much. I know that a lot of people were unsatisfied with the ending, so I don't know. It does sound really good though. Wow, that's cold. Nice. Okay. So then I have this one, and it's called The Policy. He doesn't have an endorsement from Stephen King on the cover of this one. He has one from the Midwest Book Review, and it reads, "A master of horror on par with Kuntz and King." And here's the cover. So there's like an envelope with a seal, and the seal has like these skulls on it, and there's a pen that's like stabbing the envelope, and it seems like one of those pens where you dip your ink, but that pen was clearly dipped in blood. So there is a summary on the back, and then there's a synopsis on the inner dust jacket. Let's go ahead and read the summary on the back. Unemployed, divorced, and living in a new state, Hunt Jackson would be considered a risk by most insurance companies. Lucky for him, he's found one that will take him. All he has to do is sign on the dotted line and note the minor provisions. If we abuse you over the phone, don't hang up. If we vandalize your home, don't get mad. If we authorize treatment at an isolated hospital that's strangely empty, don't get scared. One more thing. If we require a pound of flesh for our investment, don't bother running. It's just the policy. That sounds good. So let's read the synopsis on the inner dust jacket. Check out the policy and discover why Bentley Little is the Bram Stoker award-winning master of the macabre. Stephen King. Okay. After his divorce, Hunt Jackson decides to start over in Tucson, where an old buddy fixes him up with his wife's friend, Beth. The attraction is immediate, and they're married a few months later. But Hunt's happiness is marred by his bizarre encounter with an insurance agent whose insistence that Hunt increase his coverage sounds incredibly like a threat. The agent, tall, gaunt, oddly dressed in an old fashioned suit and fedora, is himself a menacing figure, and it soon becomes clear that whoever turns down his offer suffers catastrophic consequences: property destruction, fire, tornadoes, in tornado free Arizona. What is going on? Hunt and Beth are determined to find out, never suspecting that the company's policy for life insurance will turn out to be more terrifying than death. So that sounds really good. That sounds a lot like the store in the association. So let's see. What else do I got for you? Okay. So I've got two. Okay. I'll go with this one. Okay, it's called The Mailman. And this is the one that I really want to read. I hear that this one's a little rough around the edges because it's one of his earlier works. But his first book, his like master's thesis, he published as a book called The Revelation, and it won a Bram Stoker Award. So I don't care if it's rough around the edges. This is one that I've been wanting for a long time. I've been hoping to find it out in the wild, and I was hoping to find it in paperback, but I have it in hardback, which I just never dreamed of. So I'm actually super happy to have it in hardback. But the cover is like the dust jacket is. I'm gonna fix that with tape. But anyway, the back says, you may never want to look in your mailbox again. The synopsis reads, the suicide of the local mailman has left the residents of this tiny Arizona town shell-shocked. Nothing this bad has ever happened here before. But now it has, and more is on the way, because there's a new mailman in town, and he's not just delivering the typical bills and junk mail. For everyone in town, most notably the Albin family, the arrival of each day's mail becomes an anticipated event. The bills have stopped coming. Sweepstakes are being won. Letters from long lost people are mysteriously arriving. The new mailman has become the town's best friend until he brings the bad news and the killing begins. Again, he can take such a mundane concept and make it so eerie and so compelling. So I'm actually really excited to read this one. I think that I want to read Gloria first, then I'll read this one. And after that, the burning sounds interesting, the disappearance sounds interesting, and the policy sounds interesting. But I do got the town sounds interesting. But I do got one more book for you, and from Bentley Little. Well, this is the last book, period, and it's called Houses. I think it might have also been published under The House. But this one is from. Let's see. Give me a sec. Sorry. This one is from 1997. And did I ever tell you when The Mailman was from? 1991. So The Mailman was from 1991. Houses is from 1997. And there's no tagline on the front, but there is a photo of the author on the back. It's not exactly how I pictured him, but anyway. The synopsis on the inner dust jacket reads, a young man bumming around the West, an unemployed family man living off his wife's salary in Pennsylvania, a high school teacher in Iowa approaching retirement, a successful video distributor in New Mexico, a female business executive in California. None of these people have ever met, and they have nothing in common, except that they have all started dreaming about frightening but tantalizingly blurred events that seem to have happened years before in the dark and forbidding houses where they were born, and all of them have recently endured terrifying experiences that they can neither explain nor forget. They do not yet know it, but the identical homes of their childhoods are connected to a bizarre series of supernatural events stretching across the length and breadth of the United States. And by returning to these houses, each will be forced to confront a horrifying past and face an unknown future. So I have seen like one of those YouTubers that does talk about Bentley Little books. He was talking about this one, and he said it reminded him it was basically the same thing as a book by Dean Koontz. I think it was called The Strangers. So I don't know what came first, the Bentley Little or the Dean Koontz. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, but this one came out in 1997. I don't know when the Dean Koontz one would have come out. I do have a couple of Dean Koontz books. I've never read any Dean Koontz. I don't know if I was gonna say I don't know if he's good, but I think that what I mean is I don't know if I would like him. I do want to read. I want to read Hideaway. I want to read the Door to December, and I want to read that one. It's something about like pills that can give the government mind control over you. I don't remember what it's called, but that one does sound good. So those are that's my book haul, and then I just have a couple of DVDs for you. So I found Terminator Dark Fate. I didn't want to watch it, but Cody Leach actually really liked it. And so that made me want to give it a chance, and so I picked it up at a thrift store. So then I found this one. It's called Deep Red, and it's a film by Dario Argento. and I really like the cover on this DVD. But to tell you the truth, the main reason why I picked it up is because of Scream 6. One of the ghost faces, I think his name was Jason. One of those ghost faces, I guess, I remember Jenna Ortega's character, Tara, saying, "Oh, that's that bloke from class that's obsessed with Argento." And so that's the reason why I picked this up. I've never seen a Dario Argento film, so I picked this one up. And then lastly, I found this at a thrift store as well, and it's Stephen King's Sleepwalkers, and it's brand new. It still has the cellophane on it. And I picked it up for a thrift store price, so there you go. All right, well, that's it. That's it for my haul. I hope you enjoyed. For anyone who's never heard of Bentley Little, I hope you learned a little bit about his books, because I have read a couple and I really do like him. Even though I did have one negative experience with one of his books, but that was a me thing and not a him thing, because there are people out there that liked the one book that I've read from him that I didn't like, even though I loved the other books from him that I read. I probably shouldn't have gone so many years without reading any more of his stuff, but anyway, I'll go ahead and I'll let you guys go. If anyone's ever read this Catherine Taychek author person, please let me know in the comment section below what you think. I guess that's it. All right, thank you guys for watching. Horns up and peace out.